a lot of the newer girls don't have managers.
Yeah.
And a lot of the
We're good ones, yeah.
Yeah. And she goes, at this point, Trix, the dolls are the dolls.
Fresh out the box. Stop, look and watch. Ready yet? Get set. It's all that.
Sorry, Jack. Chucky's back.
Child's Play 2. It's playtime. Again.
The 1990 sequel to the cult classic, in which 2 years after serial killer Charles Lee Ray inserted his soul into a Chucky doll, a toy company attempts to recreate the doll, bringing back Ray in the process.
What about you, Ray?
Oh, I bought mine on Friday. I just came down to get a banana. Shit is hot, right?
The possessed doll, intent on claiming a human body, kills his way towards former owner Andy, who now lives in a foster home.
Now just relax, kids. All we're doing is taking you to a foster home.
Yay! Haley ho! Welcome to your new home, neglectorinos.
Andy's foster sister Kyle tries to protect him, but his foster parents believe Andy is just a troubled kid, and Chucky's murderous path continues. So funnily enough, I watched this for the first time the other day. I'd always seen the first Child's Play, the third one, the sequels, but somehow I missed this installment. If I had watched it previously, I completely forgot about it because everything was brand new to me. And I must say, I was pretty happy with it. I loved everything to do with the setup of the toy factory. I loved the continuation of the sequel being direct as opposed to a spin-off where it might have focused on a different kid and whatnot. And I feel that it boosted Chucky's sassy arrogance, Chucky's wordplay, the kills, and it was just how to do a sequel correctly. But I'm interested to know, BP, what are your thoughts on this movie?
Well, first off, I found straight away it was just a more polished, I guess, a better looking movie. Considering it was only a couple of years later, it just felt nicer colors, cleaner. I liked that it got straight into the first kill scene I wrote was less than 20 minutes into the film, which I don't know what it was on the first one. I feel like the first one was a bit longer because it was more on establishing scenes coming through and whatnot, but I liked that it was straight into it. I love that Chucky is even more pissed off than he was in the first movie. So it comes back with a vengeance of baby crying 0 to 100 in 1 second and just going off his head. And I love the chemistry of Andy and Kyle because I've seen that actor Kyle, Christina Elise in quite a few films. And I just thought that there was a really good dynamic. And I think that kind of moved the film forward more than it did in the first one. There was just a good working relationship going on in that film. The first one was good as an establishing film, but I do think the second one kind of stepped up. And like you said, Justin, the opening shots of the factory was also pretty cool as well. It reminded me of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, I agree. It's so funny because to me, it feels like the predecessor to the 2005 remake of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with how garish the colors are. Very much sets up that child fantasy of being in a toy factory, but plot twist, this is a toy factory gone demented with Chucky going on his reign of terror.
Yeah.
Coop, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. So I pretty much agree with BP on this, which is interesting because it's a Chucky movie. But yeah, it's more polished than the first one. Everything's sort of kicked off nice and quick. We're already familiar with the story. A lot of horror movie sequels, they kind of retells the story again, and it's not needed. What's the term I'm looking for? Belittle the audience or
rehashing it or something.
Patronize?
Yeah.
Rehash?
Yeah. It doesn't patronize the audience or anything. It assumes that if you're watching this movie, you're familiar with it. It kicks off. There's never any really dull points throughout the movie. It leans more into the comedy, but I feel like it leans more into the violence as well, both with people getting killed and sort of the amount of different gory things that happen to Chucky in this movie as well. And the way that it kind of you almost feel bad for Chucky in some bits, when he rips his hand off and then he's just sticking the knife up his severed hand. And you're and you're hang on a minute, this is a killer doll. But I'm going, about it. Some of the acting in this movie is really bad. There was some questionable shit in the first one, but I feel like the ensemble in this, particularly the foster parents, dreadful actors. And the characters are horrible people and they should never foster children. That's sort of where I stand on that.
No, I agree. It was interesting. I didn't think about it too much with the foster parents, but I do wonder was that a criticism by the writers of the movie or the director of the movie about the foster care system and how shit the foster care system is? I mean, there's been numerous reports of like children being abused, foster parents faking certain things like their income status or their homes to basically abuse children, which is pretty shit. So I wonder, was this criticism by the writers?
Yeah, it could be like a subtle jab towards that, because they were just playing family, and fucking hell, they had some stupid lines like when the mother shows Andy into the room, "I bet blue is your favorite color." It's like, you're just playing family. You just want this kid to be the kid you can't naturally conceive, as rough as that is. But that was generally the vibe that I got from this movie, was that, they can't have kids, so they're going to foster kids, but when they don't turn out the way they like and don't fit into their standard, like with Kyle, she was telling her not to work so she could be at dinner more, so they could play family more. It's like, for fuck's sake, as she's just said to you, she's going to be thrown out on the street in like 1 year. You guys aren't going to give a shit. You're just going to get new foster kids, and she's trying to save up for that. And you're like, oh no, but you should be at dinner. Get fucked. Sorry, I really hate the foster parents in this fucking movie.
One thing I did notice in this movie, which I really did like as well, there were a couple nice shots. I don't know if it's a different director compared to the first one, or if it's the same director. There was one shot where it's the teacher in the classroom, and there's a panning shot of the camera going backwards as she walks into the cupboard. There's a really nice shot there. And there was a nice shot of Kyle when she's on the swing, and the swing's going back and forth, and the camera's kind of going in and out like that as well. It was those two shots are quite nice. Just nice for, I guess, the Child's Play franchise, because there's a second film. But yeah, just everything felt just nicer, cleaner, smoother. And like, I'm looking it up, it was 1990. And I mean, that film probably could get away being a late 90s film. It was like quite nice.
Yeah. Different director too.
There's that part where, Coop, you talked about it before, where he gets his hand stuck in the gate and he has to rip his hand out. And I love when horror movies rely on proper puppetry or some type of gizmo gadget or whatnot, as opposed to CGI graphics. Because when he rips his hand off, you see like the veins, the tendons, and that aspect, just brings it to that next level of holy shit, what the fuck? Yeah. Whereas we talk a lot about Final Destination 4 and how shit the CGI in that one was, but this is a good example of how to use real life appliances, whether it's like the machine gimmick that mimics the puppetry or has the like real life blood, tendons and all that shit. Like, it just really elevates that. And I don't think it takes away from the movie. I think it gives it more impact, because it makes you realize, shit, the doll isn't just plastic and, hand just goes like, boop, like pops off. It's a real like living creature under it. My favorite part of this movie is actually towards the ending, where like it feels like a lot of fake outs as to whether they've actually killed Chucky or not. So he gets like reassembled on the assembly line. He has like legs coming out of his head and shit, but then he gets covered in wax, and then finally he does get killed. With, actually, I can't even remember how he finally dies, but it was like a whole setup where it was like 3 sequences, and then finally he dies. To me, the increase in blood and gore was very effective in showing that this was a creature that needed to be stopped, and that Charles Lee Ray isn't just a Chucky doll. He's a real serial killer. So having that extra detail to it really finessed it. But I really need to give credit as well to the editing structure of the film. There's the scene that you touched on, BP, where it's the teacher getting killed, but after Chucky kills her and you see the shot of like the ruler going up and then going down, it like pulls out of the school slowly. I love that type of editing, because it makes it feel like this is a isolated incident. No one's going to help the teacher, because when you see the shot outside of the school, you don't really hear anything. You don't see like the ruler going up or anything. So it helps produce that helplessness environment. So overall, I think everything's a favorite part of mine, but definitely that toy factory sequence. BP, did you have any particularly favorite parts of the movie?
I liken Chucky coming back like 3 or 4 times at the end to being like the Terminator, especially in Judgment Day, where the truck disappears and then it comes through the fire down on the floodway. That's what I liken Chucky to be, because he just keeps coming back. And I'm like, he's being killed. He's being like clamped into the machine, and yet he still comes back. I'm like, die already.
They need to do like a Terminator sequel where it's just Chucky versus Arnold Schwarzenegger, but yeah, we'll see how
I would
Terminator
pay
franchise
serious money to watch that.
It is not a good guy doll. No, that was the worst impression I've ever done. Jesus Christ. Coop, did you have any particularly favorite parts of the movie?
It's a toss-up between, the teacher, getting ruled to death, or pretty much the whole ending in the toy factory is awesome. The guy getting the toy eyeballs popped into his head, it's pretty good death, I reckon. And it's just like a good area for them to sort of have played with the big end scene of a movie. I mean, you want something like that with the big climax of the movie.
Oh, now what? Ooh, I guess this is the big climax. Hope you don't mind if I fake it.
And it's definitely a big step up to, there's just clouds above the apartment building like in the first one. Like they've got all these gadgets to play with and all these ways they can get hurt and all these ways they can kill Chucky. And Chucky just keeps coming back. It's fucking heaps good. Probably that more so than the teacher scene. I just feel like, that teacher really had it coming.
I got to be honest, I don't think I have any particularly least favorite parts in the movie. It's more least favorite characters. Like we've touched on before with the foster parents, it does feel very wooden. It feels very contrived. I don't believe that they're necessarily good foster parents. But I'm interested to know, BP, did you have any least favorite parts of Child's Play 2?
Nothing I can really think of. I think it's a pretty positive film. Like it's a pretty good film in the series so far. It is interesting you guys bring up with the foster parents. It's interesting watching them just between themselves. Like when they do films and they do a chemistry test, like I don't feel any chemistry that they're even together in this film. It just feels like a man and a woman standing around a kitchen counter talking about Andy, and then sitting in bed, and then he hears the sound and goes downstairs, and it is wooden. I'm not convinced even that it wasn't a good casting choice, I should say that. But no, I think everything else worked well. I think, like I said, it's a step up from the first one in pretty much every aspect, and I think it worked well for the film so far. So like it's a worthy successor at this point in the series.
Coop, do you have any least favorite parts?
Pretty much already what I've touched on with the foster parents being shit characters. BP's totally right. It's heaps wooden. There's no chemistry between them.
Margaret, we could have sexual intercourse right now.
Yes, we could.
But let's not.
It is frustrating in this movie, but I guess it's meant to be just like that the whole time. Nobody's fucking listening to Andy. They just like cut him off as soon as, he's trying to explain anything. You're kind of meant to be sitting there going, just listen to this fucking kid. Chucky's coming and he's going to fuck you up. But foster parents, fuck them.
Do we think that this movie holds up 32 years after release? I got to say, one thing that I wish modern day horror films would learn from, like not only Child's Play 2, but general 80s, 70s, early 90s horror, is that proper theatrics, proper puppetry, real life creations always work better compared to CGI. I wish most movie studios would understand that. Also, I don't understand why they go for CGI most of the time, because CGI is so expensive. I mean, you have to go through everything keyframe by keyframe. You have to add a whole team of like visual effects artistry. And I don't know, I just feel like horror is the one genre where even if the real life puppetry, etc., is kind of shit, it just works well for that genre. But BP, if you had stumbled upon this movie, say Video Easy still exists in 2022, would you want to pick it up? Because I remember the VHS/DVD cover for this installment. It was Chucky with the pair of scissors, and it was like a Jack-in-the-Box character. I always remember seeing that, but for some reason when I was a kid, I never asked my mum if I could rent the movie. But would it be something that you would want to pick up and watch?
If I'd seen the first one and I saw the second one on VHS, I probably would. In terms of replay value, I would watch this one again, more so what we touched on earlier with it, like being straight to the point, first kills within 20 minutes. It's a clean film. It's nice colors. Chucky is even more pissed off this time around, which he's already pissed off, so it doesn't really make sense, but yeah.
You little shit! Do you know what you've done? It's too late! I've spent too much time in this body! I'm fucking trapped in here! What the hell?
Yeah, I'd watch this one again. It's a good film and good gore, Chucky being Chucky, some decent acting in it, some shit acting, a good sequel to the first one.
Likewise, same question. Do you think this movie holds up 30 plus years after release? And would you want to watch it if you had never seen it before?
Yeah. Absolutely. Pretty much exactly what BP said was that, if I'd seen the first one, I'd be interested in watching the second one. I've always really liked the cover of this one, like you said, Justin, with the Jack in the Box. It always stood out to me personally, because I was like, what the hell is that? And I remember as a kid not understanding the tagline, "Sorry, Jack, Chucky's back," because he's doing he's about to snip a Jack, and I'm like, "Who's Jack?"
Jack. Come back. I'll never let go. I promise.
Who's this Jack person? It's Andy. Who's Jack? So stupid kid moment. But yeah, I think it still holds up. When I watched it earlier in the week, it had been quite a while since I'd seen it and thoroughly enjoyed it. Had a good time. Yeah, I just don't feel like there's really a dull moment in it. You're kind of along for the ride as soon as you're buckled in. It's good.
100% agree. I know we've lightly touched on this question before. Do we feel that this was a good concept for a sequel? So personally, like I said before, I love that they directly tied it to the first one with Andy and Chucky. I felt there could have been easily some other studio interference where maybe it was a different Chucky doll, different voice, different Andy character. But I like that it was primarily set in like the toy factory with all the other secondary characters like the designers of the toys, and you get to see what happens to them at the end. Likewise with Chucky, I felt that they really upped the ante on almost all elements compared to the first film, which is what's needed. But yeah, interested to hear your takes.
Yeah, I think it's like a no-brainer that this was the way it should have gone. I mean, I do like that obviously Andy comes back again. They push on that in terms of like character development. He's a bit older, a bit more mature, even though he's still quite young. I think this was sort of like the way it should have gone, and it was good as well that they lightly touch base on the company itself in terms of the factory, the background side of it, and Chucky itself as a doll. So I kind of liked that they went into that avenue as well, and it sets it up for obviously a sequel to possibly expand on that again. But I don't think anyone would have been annoyed that it went completely different. I think this was sort of like a no-brainer as to this is how the sequel should have been done from the first film. This is where it should just follow Andy again, because obviously Chucky's not dead, so he comes back, and who's he going to haunt? And Andy's sort of his life buddy, per se. So yeah,
I agree with BP. It's good that they kept following along with the story with Andy. I like how they added a bit with this one, the fact that, because they touched on in the first one, the fact that, he's turning human, he's only got a certain amount of time to transfer his soul into Andy, the first person he revealed your true identity to. In this one, he runs out of time and then decides he's just gonna kill this motherfucker because he's going to be stuck as a doll. So I like that they added to that. It's another case of it upping the ante. And I think that's probably the main thing that would have been needed moving forward from the first one, is like, how can we take this to the next level? And I feel like they did a good job with that.
All great points. So I think that wraps up our Child's Play 2 episode. Coop, BP, thank you both very much for joining me again today.
Thank you very much.
Listeners, in our next episodes, we discuss Child's Play 3, and the fan favourite Bride of Chucky, which saw the series take a turn more towards comedy. Feel free to like, comment, share, tip, blah, 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 if you hated our podcast.
And you know what I'm gonna do to you? I'm gonna